Jersey Joe is back for part 2 of our discussion regarding the New Jersey Devils past season, offseason, draft, FanDuel lines, and much more. There's still a lot to dissect alongside Jersey Joe. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Steven stepped up, nailed him. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play announcer, Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. As promised, Joseph Stanislaw, a.k.a. Jersey Joe, is back for part 2 of our discussion. Like I said in the cold open, we've been looking at the FanDuel lines. We've been reflecting on the 2023-2024 season. Jersey Joe has been sharing his thoughts on the draft. And, of course, we had to talk about the busy off season for the Devils. If you missed part 1, please pause this episode and give the first part a listen. Jersey Joe and I always go off the rails and just feed off one another. You guys seem to enjoy it. And I think I've talked long enough. Without further ado, let's get back to our discussion with Jersey Joe, part 2 coming up. That was the point of emphasis for Tom Fitzgerald, which is you got to replace Miles Wood, you got to replace Michael McLeod, and you got to somehow upgrade the goaltending tandem, because I think that was the key X factor for the Devils, and he listened to the criticisms loud and clear. Like I said many times on the show, I would love to get Brady Tkachuk. I would love to get Steven Stamkos or Jonathan Marchessault, whomever, added to this roster, but offense was not really the problem for the Devils.
And you know what? Last year when it came to the Devils playing against the Rangers, the guy I really, really missed was Tomáš Tatar. I really wanted that Slovak sniper back. And
I'm going to keep you honest here. Tomáš Tatar, like many of his teammates, didn't really perform all that well come playoff time. His scoring numbers went down.
You don't have to play him because you already have enough guys, depth-wise, who could play that role come playoff time. Now, if, Lord forbid, there's an injury, you can insert him in there. But there's needs and wants, and there's depth. So it's good to have that veteran player around.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Tatar, his main goal is not to be second fiddle to Nico Hischier or Dawson Mercer. His goal this upcoming season is to replace Alexander Holtz's goal production, which I'm more than positive he's capable of doing. And I think he can be more efficient than Holtz. Holtz, great scorer, in my opinion. But
very bad effort.
Right. He mishandles the puck. He misses assignments. He leaves guys wide open. He's not good defensively. The thing is, Holtz's offense, unfortunately, wasn't good enough to exonerate some of his mistakes, because someone like Jack Hughes, he sometimes struggles with handling the puck or defense and things like that. But Jack Hughes' efficiency offensively can exonerate that, so that way it's more efficient. But for Holtz, not so much. And I was one of those people that said you got to play Holtz just a little bit more so he can make those mistakes and learn from it. And I to this day think that he got too much hate for what he deserved from Lindy Ruff and Tom Fitzgerald. But I can understand and see why they were a little hesitant to let Holtz go.
Like, for me, from a scouting perspective, when you have a top 10 guy like Holtz in the lineup and you have a coach that's so old school and doesn't give him enough room to grow at the pro level, where he's already exhausted his time in the AHL, you got to give him a little extra time and space to make those mistakes. But at the same time, him and Tom Fitzgerald held him back. And I question not just the player's effort. I want to comes to handling that one player. And Fitzgerald didn't play his cards right with Lindy Ruff and Alexander Holtz. And I'm actually happy that Holtz is in an organization like Las Vegas where, no pun intended, they're willing to take the odds on him. And they see potential upside where he could be worth the investment or the risk. So if you can work on his skating a little bit more, working on his effort, and let him just, become more a shooter, then Vegas will have a really good time having him in their lineup.
My thing is, yes, Vegas is not going to be as dominant as they were during their championship run. But if Holtz couldn't make it work in New Jersey, how is he going to make it work in Vegas? That's my question.
It comes down to their scouting and their player development personnel. That's what it comes down to. And when it comes to teams, GMs, like a Kelly McCrimmon, they're willing to take the risk to the reward ratio, just like they do at the slot machine. I'm sure that, it's a Vegas thing. They want to take their risks and see if they can make a killing off it. But you know what? The Devils are in a better place. They're in a win now mode. I'm focused on the Devils with a guy like Paul Cotter on this team, making us more scary. And, the Devils don't have to worry about being trapped all the time in this upcoming season. They can easily body through a lot of other teams, trying to play that neutral zone trap and just get around them and just go for the puck and, draw penalties and increase their power play time and try and actually score a good amount of goals. My question is, will the power play efficiency go up like it did in the first couple months of last year and stay around there consistently? Maybe not 41%, maybe above 25 to 30%.
I mean, let's be honest. We all knew it wasn't going to stay at 40%.
No.
That's
why I said a little in the middle.
Yeah. But it shouldn't go as down as it did when Dougie went down with his injury, and it was like what, December, January, February. The Devils were anyone
in the comment section, if I remember correctly, the power play percentage went down to 7% ish, which was horrific. It was why even be on a power play?
Well, I think the Devils finished just outside the top 10 when it came to power play. They were in the same or a similar position as they were during the 2022-2023 season, which speaks volume as to how dominant their power play was to begin, because the fact that they went on that huge cold streak for many months and still finished just outside the top 10, because if you were to ask people, they probably would just say, oh, yeah, I'm sure the Devils finished in the 20th or worse position. I was like, nope, not exactly. Before we continue today's discussion, let me tell you guys about Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. I've actually used Indeed before to book myself some play-by-play gigs. I highly recommend it. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree. Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of the show could get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support my show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right, let's get back to today's episode with Jersey Joe of DraftPro Hockey. Take it away once again.
Now, I will say this. The other thing that has to be rather sharp this year is the special teams, especially penalty kill, which was good, but it was still sloppy for my liking. And I'm glad that they went with more physical and defensive-minded players. And I'm just hoping that Sheldon Keefe, the way he does it, he gets more guys into lanes, blocking shots, and making them work more on that consistency during the season and preseason. So, and I know Sheldon Keefe is a 100-point per season type coach, and I know he's got a lot of accountability factor. So he's not going to be your best friend. He's not going to be your enemy, but he's going to be the one that holds you accountable.
Okay,
What'd you see
so
there?
I just found some numbers. In mid-February, the Devils were 2 for 38 on their power play attempts at one point, and Tyler Toffoli had both of those goals.
Sounds right.
Then on February 20th, I said Devils are 2 for their last 40-something on the power play attempts. Once again, Tyler Toffoli at the hands of it. Ever since Dougie, late February, I tweeted this out. Ever since Dougie Hamilton went down with his injury, the Devils were 15 for 111. That's a 13.5% clip on their power play ever since the Dougie Hamilton injury once again. Now, I just want to make something perfectly clear. I'm not saying Dougie Hamilton was the sole reason as to why the Devils' power play went down the way it did.
He was a key factor.
He was a key factor because of all the clappers he would generate. Because either he's going to score it or someone's going to tip it out in front. And when you got someone like Luke Hughes or Shimo Nemitz quarterbacking the offense on the power play, no one's going to fear that. Like I said early on in the show, or part one, however I divide this episode up, the Devils rookies are more passers than they are shooters. And that's going to come with time. Their shot's going to develop more with time, but no team is going to fear Nemitz or Hughes letting a shot rip from the point. Just no way.
Well, they do have to worry about Brett Pesce nowadays. I mean, that shot's really good. I mean, come playoff time, he's one of the more clutch deliverers when it comes to playing for a team like Carolina. Speaking of which, Carolina is losing not only a guy like Pesce, they just lost Kuznetsov. They lost Kuznetsov to the KHL. So Carolina's lost a lot of their punch. And this plays into my next thing is like in the Metropolitan, I'm not trying to be biased, but I'm trying to be honest. I still see the Rangers and the Devils going neck to neck for the first two seeds in the Metropolitan. And if the Devils can average about 102 points, Rangers probably they're going to lose maybe 9 points from their 114. So it'll be like Rangers have like 105, Devils get like 102. And then I see Carolina slipping down to a wild card spot. So I see Carolina going with like, let's say 92, 95 points. I start to see the Capitals with like 96 points. So I think that third spot in the Metro comes to like the last couple months or in a dead heat.
So according to the FanDuel betting odds, the Devils have a plus 220 chance of winning the Metro, meaning if you put $5 down, you'll win $11. And the lowest odds, I believe, are the Blue Jackets with a plus 12,000 chance of winning the Metro. Meaning if you put $5 down, you're going to win $600.
Yeah, it sounds very unlikely that they'll do that.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Let's be realistic.
And a team like Columbus doesn't scare me. Not to their standards. I'll be honest that the Islanders still have some players that can deliver, but they're going to be in the middle of the division, but they still have guys that can deliver. But you can't sleep on them. I see the Flyers with their goaltending going a bit backwards. And yeah, they could be a secondary wild card, but they might fall below it.
My thing is for the Flyers, they did way better than people anticipated for them to do. Unfortunately, they got cold at the wrong possible time.
Especially with what happened with Hockey Canada scandal. That happened to us.
Yep. Well, they lost Carter Hart, similar to how the Devils lost Cal Foote and Michael McLeod. I touched on it on this show before.
Alrighty.
It's a sad situation, but when looking at it from a hockey standpoint, yes, they lost Carter Hart, and I'm sure that was a big blow for them. And their power play, not good. Like, I think it was dead last in the league, which is not a recipe for success. And then when you look at a team like the Penguins, they also performed above expectations, in my opinion. Because, like, if they squeaked their way into the wild card, then you would have had to put Sidney Crosby in MVP discussions. I'm not saying he should have won it. Let me make that perfectly clear. Do not take this out of context. I'm not saying he should have been the favorite. I said you got to at least have the conversation because he put the team on his back. And that trade, Gensel for Bunting, it actually worked out for the Penguins because Bunting was like close to being a point per game player, if I recall. And then
and Michael Bunting was also coached by none other than Sheldon Keefe in Toronto. And he was not getting a lot of good praises by the media in Toronto. But you know what? If Michael Bunting for somehow doesn't stay with a team like the Penguins, I wouldn't be surprised if the Devils were to pick him up on waivers or something. I mean, it's not like too far-fetched, but you have a little bit of the Maple Leaf fingerprints on certain players. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was that kind of pickup by Tom Fitzgerald for a guy like Sheldon Keefe as the head coach here.
Right. So my thing is like the Penguins, they're still getting older. Their core three or their big three, if you want to call it, they've been around for many years. Letang, Malkin, and Crosby, but Father Time is undefeated. And speaking of Father Time, Alexander Ovechkin, he was basically a traffic cone out there during the playoffs. And at this point, he's just chasing the Wayne Gretzky all-time goals record. And once he breaks that, he's going to be done because he has nothing else to accomplish.
Well, one of the things that I started looking at was on Instagram. He was playing soccer with, Dynamo Moscow, and I saw that he had a big beer belly. I'm like, he's really going out of shape now. And I'm like, he should not be doing that to himself, and he should be doing better, even though he's in his dog years of being a hockey player. He needs to take better care of his self, and it looks like he's ready to just, eventually quit. I hate to use the term, but I'd rather see him, give his very best for the very last try and break Gretzky's record.
I mean, well, like I said, he has 2 years to do it. Most likely he's going to break it, barring a catastrophic injury. And he's just getting older. That's what happens when you get older. Your metabolism slows down.
Yeah,
and like it's not like he's a 20-year-old player that needs to be very cautious what he eats. No. He's like you said, he's at the tail end of his career. I personally don't have a problem with it, and honestly, if he's still able to perform somewhat and score goals for the next 2 seasons to break that Gretzky record, I don't see much issue with it.
And I will bring this to light is that Pittsburgh and the Capitals, their prospect pools aren't the greatest. Pittsburgh added a little bit of something, but still it's not going to make up in the near term for the Penguins. And I foresee a collapse with Pittsburgh in the next couple seasons. But for now, they'll be okay. But they're going to start to get really bad in the middle of the season if they bar some injuries. And I don't like to play the injury thing, but they're like you said, their father time is catching up with them. And the Capitals, they do have Connor McMichael around that makes them a unique underdog that could try and upset the Devils like they did last year. But they do have some guys that are on the verge of moving on to other teams. But at the same time, like Carolina still got some really good pieces, and they got some really good prospects that could tow the next couple seasons for them when they do have some departures. And I mean, the Devils and the Rangers will likely be the two best teams consistently for the next 5 to 10 seasons, the way they're both set up. And maybe the Rangers start tracking backwards.
Well, right now the Rangers odds to win the Metro plus 270. If you put down a $5 wager on FanDuel, you'll win $13.50. And they are the President's Trophy's winners, but usually winning the President's Trophy doesn't sit well with some teams. The superstition of like you win the President's Trophy, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be the most dominant team come playoff time. In fact, I think you've even talked about how you don't want to see the Devils win the President's Trophy.
I would intentionally bench several star players just to lose a couple games to not win that thing. I would do that. I swear. If I was a GM, I would do that. I'll tell the coach, look, we're here to win the cup, not the President's Trophy. I'm sorry.
Easy, John Tortorella. Benching your star players, easy there.
I would say stay home tonight, watch some Netflix, and just don't worry about it. We'll win the Stanley Cup. Because I do not care about the freaking President's Trophy. I know that Ranger fans loved it when they won the President's Trophy this year. They're like, oh, the things of 1994 are lining up again. It's like, this is crock of bullcrap. You don't play a hockey season just to win some regular season trophy. It's garbage. You want to win the Stanley Cup. That's the only cup that I want. And I'm not talking about something I drink a beverage out of. I'm talking about the actual thing you hoist over your head after 16 playoff wins.
We'll see what happens. But Jersey Joe, we've touched on pretty much everything. Any final thoughts you want to share?
Final thoughts are, people, please come over, subscribe to Locked On Devils, give this guy a 5-star rating. Come look at my stuff on Pucks and Pitchforks with Trays as well. And also follow me at Draft Prospects Hockey. And I'm the guy that does all the USHL and the NCAA prospects on top of some other prep school kids. So for those of you who want to hear me go on your podcast too, or you want to just talk hockey in general, I'm here. You see my at JerseyJoe11_NJ. That's me on X. Don't be afraid to follow at TreyMatt4, because we are really two awesome dudes that can talk hockey. We can definitely bring an interesting season of hockey talk going forward. And Locked On Devils is a fun place to be. And Trey does really good journalism. I'm telling you, what you've done at the Sphere was freaking awesome. You're going to be a Darren Drager one day.
I appreciate that. I really do. I'm lost for words. I didn't expect for you to talk that fondly of me or my show, but you had to throw your plugs in there too. But I appreciate that. I'm taken aback.
Hey, and I mean, I do hear people that message me on my scouting stuff every now and then, but I just try and make my content doable. And I mean, there's so many good Devils podcasts out there, but for those who want a real professional, Trey is the guy. But if you want more casual, I mean, there's so many other great Devils podcasts out there. Like, although I've stopped doing mine with Heads Up Hockey, I just knew that, in the state of mind that the Devils podcast universe has really blown up in a really good way. And I'm forever grateful for having done what I've done for almost 5 years podcasting. And I just knew it was time for me to be a scout last summer. And around this time last year, I became a scout at DraftPro, and it became a high honor. And, in life, you don't know what you're going to achieve until you have achieved something.
Well said. Jersey Joe, the pleasure is always mine. And like I do to close out every episode, continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Thank you for sticking by us for this 2-part crossover, and we'll see you next time.